Have you ever wondered how one single life could reshape the very conscience of a nation? The brutal and senseless murder of Emmett Till, a 14-year-old African-American boy, did just that. His tragic fate became a pivotal moment in American history, igniting outrage and galvanizing the civil rights movement. The events surrounding his death and the subsequent actions taken by his mother, Mamie Till Mobley, brought national attention to the deep-seated issues of racial injustice and violence in America. It also left a lasting imprint on the civil rights landscape that would resonate for decades to come. Emmett Till was born on July 25, 1941, in Chicago, Illinois, to Mamie Till and Louis Till. Raised in a loving family, Emmett was known for his bright personality and sense of humor. His mother, Mamie, played a pivotal role in shaping his values, instilling in him a strong sense of pride in his Black heritage. At 14, Emmett was a lively, enthusiastic African-American kid. In the summer of 1955, he traveled to the South for a visit with relatives. For Emmett, the visit to Money, Mississippi was meant to be a summer break, an adventure far from Chicago's cityscape. Yet Mississippi was vastly different from what Emmett knew. Chicago had its share of racial tensions, but the South, still enmeshed in Jim Crow laws, imposed rigid and violently enforced racial segregation. Although his mother, Mamie Till Mobley, warned Emmett about the South's dangerous racial climate, she knew he was excited. Emmett was raised in a community where he had a level of freedom and confidence uncommon in the South. He was not accustomed to Mississippi's unwritten racial codes. Just days into his visit, Emmett encountered Carolyn Bryant, a 21-year-old white woman, in a local grocery store in Money, Mississippi. Accounts of their interaction differ, with some witnesses claiming Emmett may have whistled or spoken to Bryant in a friendly manner. However, none of his actions warranted the horrific outcome that followed. In the deeply segregated South of the 1950s, any perceived breach of the racial hierarchy by an African American toward a white person could, and often did, provoke deadly violence. Emmett's innocent actions, seen through the lens of an oppressive system, would tragically be met with a brutal response that not only claimed his life, but also ignited a national reckoning. His murder exposed the violent realities of racism, prompting widespread outrage and becoming a catalyst for the burgeoning civil rights movement. On August 28, 1955, Emmett Till was abducted from his great-uncle Mose Wright's home in the dead of night. Carolyn's husband, Roy Bryant, along with his half-brother J.W. Milan, armed themselves and forced their way into Wright's home, demanding to see the boy who did the talking. Despite pleas from Emmett's relatives, Bryant and Milan took Emmett, driving him to a barn where they beat, tortured, and ultimately shot him. To ensure his body would never resurface, they fastened a 70-pound cotton gin fan around his neck with barbed wire and threw him into the Tallahatchie River. Days later, Emmett's mutilated body was discovered by a fisherman, sparking horror and outrage not only within the Black community, but also among segments of the broader American public. The extent of his injuries was gruesome. He was disfigured beyond recognition. This unimaginable brutality became a terrifying symbol of the extreme racial violence that persisted in various parts of the United States. Mamie Till Mobley faced an unimaginable decision when she learned of her son's murder. Instead of a private funeral, she chose to hold an open casket service, ensuring the world would see what had been done to her child. Her decision was revolutionary in its boldness. She used her grief to expose a deeply entrenched system of violence and dehumanization. As Mamie stated, "I want the world to see what they did to my boy." Emmett's body was displayed in his casket at a church on Chicago's South Side. Tens of thousands of people came to see his face, now a grotesque image of violence and hatred. Photos of Emmett's mutilated face, published in Jet magazine and other black media outlets, shocked the nation. These images brought a faraway horror into the homes of millions, searing Emmett's face into the collective memory of Americans and stirring countless individuals to take a stand. Mamie Till Mobley's choice to reveal the extent of her son's injuries was a powerful act of resistance, transforming a mother's private pain into a public demand for change. Emmett Till's name would become synonymous with the struggle for justice, and Mamie's courage galvanized a new wave of activism that would echo through the civil rights era. The trial of Roy Bryant and J.W. Milam took place in September 1955 in Sumner, Mississippi. Despite widespread media coverage and intense public interest, the outcome of the trial was marred by systemic racism. The jury, consisting entirely of white men, symbolized the biases that permeated the justice system in the South. Black witnesses, including Mose Wright, who risked his life to identify Bryant and Milam in court, were nonetheless ignored by the jury. Wright's bravery was unprecedented, marking the first time a black man had publicly accused a white man of a crime against a black person in a Mississippi courtroom. After only 67 minutes of deliberation, the jury acquitted Bryant and Milam. One juror reportedly commented that they would have reached a verdict sooner had they not stopped to drink soda. The acquittal sent a devastating message to the black community and to the nation. In the South, black lives were disposable in the eyes of the law. Bryant and Milam, feeling protected by their acquittal, later admitted to the murder in a paid interview with Look magazine, knowing they could not be retried due to double jeopardy laws. Reactions to the trial's outcome revealed the deep racial divide within the country. In the South, some white citizens supported the jury's decision, viewing it as an affirmation of their racial superiority. Conversely, the North, along with black communities nationwide, expressed outrage and disbelief. Emmett's murder highlighted the brutal realities of segregation, challenging those who had previously turned a blind eye to Southern racial violence. For African Americans, the acquittal underscored the urgent need for systemic change, eventually fueling protests and mobilizing support for civil rights initiatives. Till's death became a rallying cry, particularly for young activists who saw a reflection of their own vulnerability in him. Rosa Parks, who was famously called the mother of the civil rights movement, invigorated the struggle for racial equality when she refused to give up her bus seat to a white man in Montgomery, Alabama. This happened just a few months after Till's death, and she later said she was thinking of Emmett Till when she made her stand. The murder of Emmett Till also served as a catalyst for the burgeoning civil rights movement. His death and the subsequent lack of justice inspired figures like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Medgar Evers, and many others who would become icons of the movement. The case highlighted the urgent need for federal intervention in matters of racial violence and justice. Emmett's story forced America to confront its legacy of racial injustice, contributing to significant legal and social shifts. Till's legacy lives on in the continual fight for justice and equality. In 2007, over 50 years after his murder, the U.S. Congress finally passed the Emmett Till Unsolved Civil Rights Crime Act, enabling the Department of Justice to investigate racially motivated crimes from the civil rights era. Emmett's story also inspired the creation of educational resources, films, and documentaries, ensuring that his memory and the lessons of his life remain part of American consciousness. Emmett Till's murder, nearly 7 decades ago, profoundly resonates today as a reminder of the importance of justice and the ongoing fight against systemic racism. His tragic fate marked a pivotal moment in American history, exposing the brutal realities of racial violence and galvanizing the civil rights movement. Emmett's death brought national attention to the injustices faced by African Americans, igniting outrage and inspiring many to join the struggle for equality. However, Emmett Till's legacy also highlights the ongoing work needed in the quest for justice. Despite progress, systemic racism continues to affect many communities. His story underscores the necessity of vigilance and action, challenging us to confront uncomfortable truths and advocate for those facing discrimination. The pain of his loss reminds us that each life lost to injustice is a call to action. How does Emmett Till's legacy shape our understanding of justice today? His story prompts deep reflection on the need for equal rights for all. It compels us to consider the responsibility we bear in addressing racial injustices and ensuring that such tragedies do not repeat. What lessons can we draw from Mamie Till Mobley's courage in the face of unimaginable loss? Her unwavering determination to seek justice for her son and to share his story with the world serves as an inspiration for all of us. It reminds us that love, resilience, and the pursuit of truth can challenge the status quo and drive meaningful change. How can we honor Emmett's memory and continue the fight for justice in our own lives? Let us know in the comments below. Stick with us for more historical videos.